11 o'clock here on Three Man Front on this Thursday. Landrum, Conrad, and Molly. Pat is back with us tomorrow. We continue to talk Alabama, Georgia, SEC championship this weekend, early signing period, all of that. Rodney Orr along momentarily to discuss. Want to tell you about our friends at the Finnick. The Finnick is your place to go for your college football watching this weekend, whether it's the championship games and other conferences on Friday, Saturday, the SEC championship game, and all the other big games. You can find them there at the Finnick. The wall-to-wall video boards, the amazing state-of-the-art sound system that they have. They'll turn up the game when Alabama and Georgia are playing. It's like you're in the privacy of your own theater. Amazing food and drink menu. They got pool tables if you're into that too. NFL fans, don't forget about Sundays and Monday nights for Monday Night Football. NFL Red Zone, Sunday Ticket, and much more. It's the Finnick. Check them out this weekend. Make sure to ask them about the SEC Championship game drink specials. 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park.
Well, Rodney Orr of Tider Insider, he joins us each and every week around this time to give us the latest on Alabama football, and especially this time of year with recruiting, no one better to join us than Rodney. Appreciate you giving us some time this morning, Rodney, and we'll get to the recruiting stuff. But Alabama, first off, they're playing in the SEC championship game on Saturday against Georgia, as we know. I was just curious, a lot of buzz this morning about LT Overton, Rodney, as he has been ruled out for the title game. I was wondering what you could tell us about that injury for LT Overton, and also maybe an update on Jam Miller and Josh Cuevas, who we know are both banged up, but they are listed as questionable on the report.
Yeah, I mean, as far as LT goes, I mean, I think that's kind of the mystery. I'm not sure any details have been released yet, unless it's just recently come out. Because there's a lot. I know I'm getting a lot of text messages about it. What's going on with LT? So honestly, I don't know all the details right now on what's going on with LT. But as far as Jam and Josh Cuevas, I mean, it'd be huge if both those guys could play. Now, whether or not they can, I still have some doubts about that, but I was interested to see that, thought it was interesting to see that Cuevas was listed, actually both of them listed as questionable, as you mentioned.
Rodney, as you've kind of looked at this game, we've already had the matchup back in Athens, but you look at this game, what is the reoccurring maybe point, position group, side of the ball for Alabama that you're focusing on that you think is going to be the most pivotal or instrumental in Alabama getting a win?
You know what? I think Alabama's defense has really improved a lot since that first game. I mean, Georgia ran at will, basically. The edge was not protected. I mean, there were some really gashing runs, and Georgia ended up with 227 yards rushing. I think Alabama can do a better job there against the run this time. If they do, maybe force it more into Gunnar Stockton's hands. He's done a fantastic job. There's no doubt about that. He's had a really good season now. Didn't play quite as well against Georgia Tech. I know that their fans, their people are kind of saying he was off a little bit, wasn't making his reads. Seems like he's regressed and all these types of things. He's extremely capable, but so if you can put it into his hands, maybe that's what they can do defensively. You know, on the offensive side of the ball, again, they did generate a run game against Auburn. They had 158 yards rushing. Be interesting to see if they can run against this Georgia defense, which, as you guys know, it's one of the top rush defenses in the country. Held Texas a few weeks ago to 23 yards rushing, held Georgia Tech to 69 this last game, I think it was. So can Alabama run the ball a little bit? But if not, then everything's on Ty Simpson again. And, you know, that could be difficult. Yeah, he had the success that first game. You know, third downs, they were 13 and 19. Big part of that was Ty. But, I mean, that's going to be a real big chore for him against that Georgia defense.
Rodney, I'm sure a name that's been popular on the Tider Insider message board since the Iron Bowl kicked off, and of course, throughout the entire season, as he struggled. But that's Ryan Williams, because a lot of attention drawn to him last weekend. They talked about on the broadcast a lot. Ryan Williams, no targets in the Iron Bowl. He did play on the field, contrary to what some people would tell you. He just didn't have any, passes thrown his way. So, what can you tell us about Ryan Williams, his status going into this game, and is it fair to assume that he will have maybe a bigger impact in the SEC championship than he did in the Iron Bowl last weekend?
Yeah, what a perfect time for Ryan Williams to come alive again, I mean, this would be huge if he could do that in this game because you've already got, obviously the weapons with, Bernard and Isaiah Horton. And if Ryan can kind of come back alive, that would be, give them a real weapon there with him. But as far as what happened, I know a lot of people are asking that question, as you mentioned, but everything that I hear behind the scenes is that nothing's wrong. That's the response, is nothing's wrong. There was a couple of times he could have been targeted where he was open, but I don't know if Ty missed him, didn't see him, whatever it was. But they say nothing's wrong, so we'll see. Hopefully, Brian has a big game.
Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, joining us on Three Man Front. All of our guests join us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Gunnar Stockton, kind of hard to put your finger on. He's a competitor. He's gutsy. He's tough as nails. He's made some really big throws, big moments. How do you view Gunnar Stockton and his role in that Georgia offense? And is he a guy that can take over a game potentially on Saturday?
Yeah, Gunnar's, man, he's gritty, man. He's a winner. He came off that bench last year in that Texas game for the Southeastern Conference Championship, and you saw what he did. I mean, it was a tough situation he was in, and he helped them win. I mean, he found ways to win. He'll scramble, picks up key yardage. He makes, as you mentioned, key throws here and there. You remember the big throw he made against Tennessee earlier in the season on that 4th and 6. I mean, he's a winner. I mean, he finds ways to win. And he's, like I said, he's capable enough as a runner and as a passer. And that's one thing that I was really afraid of in that first game was, how Alabama can have some issues with dealing with quarterbacks who can pull it down and run. And I was really concerned in that game that you would see Gunnar Stockton take off and, make some plays with his feet. He didn't do that as much in that game. And that's going to be another focal point in this game. But again, I know that a lot of the things I've read about him and from the Georgia Tech game, there's people questioning him again. But, like you said, he is a really gritty, gutty performer. So, yes, he could be a big difference in this game.
All right, Rodney, we'll save your prediction for the end here of what you think is going to happen on Saturday, because I did want to take a little bit of time and ask you about yesterday. As we know, signing day going on. Alabama, depending on where you look, a top 6 class in the country as it stands right now. They end up with 20 commits. What are just kind of your 30,000-foot view, your overview of this recruiting class for Alabama? Seems like they landed right on the number of commits that they wanted. But what can you tell some people about maybe some of the names that guys that can contribute next year and just some of the guys to keep an eye on from this recruiting class for Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, they signed 20, so it was I think it was a pretty well-rounded class. They got some superstar type guys, if you want to call 5 stars that. Cedarian Morgan, the wide receiver out of Benjamin Russell, who's a big-time player. E.J. Crowell, of course, out of Jackson, Alabama, a big-time player. Xavier Griffin, at linebacker is a difference maker. But, you look at the secondary again. I mean, they just recruit that secondary with elite players. It seems like every single year you see the young guys that are playing this year in that secondary, and they've got some others. And then they come away with 2 of the top corners in the country, and Jordan Edmonds out of Georgia, and then, of course, Zion Gibson right here out of the state of Alabama. And then at safety, Jaira Edwards out of Baltimore, who's one of the top players in the country at his position for sure. So they did a fantastic job overall. And at the line of scrimmage, seems like they had a solid offensive line class. Chris Booker is an outstanding player out of Georgia. A guy to kind of keep an eye on is Bear Fretwell out of Georgia. This guy is 6'7", 275, but he got timed at 4.77 in the 40 for a guy that big. So just the fact that, his athleticism and the way he can move, he might be one of the sleepers, if you want to call him that, in this class. But I would say another guy to keep an eye on is Malik Franklin. A late commit, just signed yesterday, committed yesterday out of Daphne. He played for former Alabama defensive line star Kenny King down there. And I talked to Kenny a couple of nights ago about Malik. I mean, he is really high on. This guy was a backup offensive tackle as a junior. They moved him in spring ball last year to defensive end, comes in this year, makes 10 tackles, 2 sacks in the first game, goes on to 98 tackles, 23 tackles for losses, 11 sacks in his first year as a starter, as a senior. Kenny King, he broke Kenny King's sack record there at Daphne. But just remember that name, Malik Franklin, because he's a guy, who's close to 6'6", 250 right now, very productive his senior year. So he could be another one of those guys that's a sleeper.
I do have to ask you before we get your prediction on the game, just other big news that happened in the SEC as far as recruiting yesterday. The recruitment of the quarterback there out of, what is it, Nashville Christian, Jared Curtis, flipping his commitment from
Yeah.
Georgia to Vanderbilt. Did you hear anything squirrely or wild that you'd be interested in sharing about that one?
I did not hear a lot of the details. I do know that Jared Curtis, he was committed to Georgia, then he kind of backed off earlier in the process. It kind of seemed to come down to Georgia and Oregon at one time. He recommitted to Georgia, and then this at the very end. The only thing I can assume is that, with the success that Vanderbilt's had the past couple of seasons, Diego Pavia, all that stuff, he thought like it was a great opportunity for him to go in there at Vanderbilt, maybe play sooner. Again, I really don't know what all the details were to that, but, it is curious. I mean, but think about this too, Landrum. Georgia was really counting on this guy. They've been burned twice like that. You remember Dylan Raiola was committed to them for a whole long time, and then he did it at the end too. So this is the second time in the last 2 or 3 years that Kirby's been burned big time with a 5-star quarterback.
That used to not happen with Kirby.
No.
It's weird.
No, it didn't. It didn't. But, of course, Raiola did have the family ties to Nebraska, so that kind of explained part of that, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, they got burned pretty big time at the end. And speaking of that, of course, Alabama did sign 2 quarterbacks in this class. 2 good-looking players, Jet Tamala, Taden Kawa. So, they should have pretty good numbers there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think, Rodney, that Vanderbilt, not only did they do that, they also flipped, was it Owen Cabell from Alabama? So they flipped a Georgia and an Alabama commit in 24 hours within signing day. That's a little bit different now.
It's a different day in Nashville, boys.
Yeah, it certainly appears to be. All right, Rodney, well, we'll let you get out of here with this. Just your final thoughts, your prediction. If you want to put a score on it, we would love that. What happens on Saturday in Atlanta, Alabama, and Georgia for the SEC title?
Yeah, again, everybody knows it's tough to beat Kirby and Georgia once in a year, much less twice. But I will say this: DeBoer went in the Pac-12. He beat Lanning and Oregon in that first game, Bo Nix, and then beat them again in the rematch when everybody was picking against Washington. So he's got a little bit of experience in these types of rematches. Mm-hmm. And I would say this too: you look at the way Alabama finished that Auburn game. With the great drive, converting on 4th and 2 there for the touchdown, and then they forced the turnover to seal the game. I think Alabama regained some of its mojo there. That's the way they were playing games, and I think they, kind of got out of the groove a little bit. But so I'm going to think it's going to carry over in this game. I really do. I think Alabama's going to play really, really well. I think defensively they're better, as I mentioned. So I've got Bama. I took it 27-24, but I have to say this too, because I said on Tighter Insider TV, wouldn't be surprised if Alabama wins by a little bit more handy margin, handily. So,
okay.
Again, just a gut hunch, guys. I really don't know, but just a gut hunch.
Hey, like a touchdown or double digits?
Well, like I said, at 27-24, I could see maybe 34-24, 34-21. If Alabama can kind of extend that a little bit, but again, I know it's like I said, it's really tough to beat Kirby and them twice in a year.
Hey, Rodney, all of the score scenarios you just threw out, those all lend themselves to Connor Talty having a banner day inside of the dome.
Well,
ride that hot leg.
That was the best part of the Iron Bowl, Rodney, was that 45-yard field goal.
That was a big key in that game, wasn't it?
Only Jordan Hare could make an Alabama kicker better.
Well, times have changed, like you said. I mean, because we've seen the opposite, haven't we?
Yeah, we certainly have. Rodney, we always appreciate the time. Should be a fun weekend. We'll have lots to discuss and digest next week when you join us. But thank you so much. Enjoy Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Rodney Orr, our friend, also of Tighter Insider, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Interesting. So Rodney picking Alabama with a narrow victory over Georgia on
Saturday. At least
Saturday.
we didn't get 31-27.
I was waiting for that. I'll save that for my prediction tomorrow. I'm kidding. But interesting there, Rodney. Expecting a win, but says don't be surprised necessarily if maybe it's a little more comfortable
If
victory
it's
for Alabama.
Conrad getting up in the fourth quarter and maybe helping his wife do something and then coming back to the TV because he knows he's not going to miss anything.
It's great. We're actually both going to be in Atlanta on Saturday. It's going to be a magical time.
Lion King, Broadway.
Yeah, we're doing something. Whoops. Yeah, we're doing something else. We're going to the aquarium.
Did I tell you about that? He listens to the show and he's a business owner, but back when he and his wife, and they're diehard Alabama fans, they're both graduates, but diehard. It was one of the first SEC championship games. I think I've told the story on the air before, but maybe not to you guys. He and his wife, they couldn't get tickets. It was Alabama, Georgia. They could not get tickets. Anyways, or it was the SEC championship or a title game. I can't remember. Anyways, they dressed up in catering outfits and had a bunch of styrofoam boxes that they actually rode the train to the stadium. And this was several years ago. It's kind of scary, but security just never.
It worked.
Yeah.
That's genius.
Yeah. And they went and they
that is brilliant.
like something from a movie, shed all of the
and then just
the catering clothes and all of that. Yeah, like they were bringing in a food order. And I think they had actually, and before I get too into it, they would have access to those types of things food-wise so they could sell it. They could really sell it. But yeah, that's how they got into
they
the
didn't
game.
go and like steal all that stuff.
Right.
It was legit.
No.
They just used it as a disguise.
That's so smart.
That's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
I love it.
That's the tip of the cap.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll continue here on Three Man Front on this Thursday on Jocks. 11:20, three-man front here on this Thursday. Molly, Conrad Landrum, hanging out. Pat Smith is back with us tomorrow. He has sent us our fresh slate of Bet It or Forget It games. We don't have to talk about that. Rodney Orr, Tider Insider, just joining us, and Rob Pate coming up talking Auburn, Rob's reaction to the Alex Golesh hire, DJ Durkin being retained with that staff, what that means potentially moving forward. And then the Southern gentleman, Brett Norsworthy. I'm sure Brett has plenty to share about what has transpired in Oxford since we last talked. He's going to join us at 12:30.
Absolutely. We love talking with Brett each and every week, as well as Rob Pate. I'm glad you brought that up, though, because you were not with us yesterday. So I would love if you wouldn't mind sharing just kind of your immediate reaction, your thoughts on DJ Durkin being retained there at Auburn, because I think we all agree that's certainly a good move and bodes well for next season, but just kind of your overall thoughts on that.
Oh, I think it's really, really good for Auburn. I think it turns out that it is good for Durkin. I had heard, just without getting into it, that his family very, very happy in Auburn, like genuinely happy, because anybody's going to say that to someone.
But they actually want to build have roots here.
Think about these coaches, and for the most part, you know what you sign up for, but having a little bit of stability and being somewhere when you're raising a family,
absolutely,
at least for some of those core years, whatever you consider those to be, whether it's the early childhood for the kid, or maybe the kid, he's got an active social life and they're in high school, middle school, whatever. But I think the Durkin family very happy. Auburn, and I think it's nice to know that Auburn really wanted you, and they prioritized you even in conversations with the coaching search. I think he's an outstanding defensive coordinator. Players obviously gravitate to him.
Yep. And
you saw some of that in the comments yesterday from recruits and other players that are maybe actively on the roster. I think it's really good. And I think it says something for Alex Golesh, too. To be able to come in, the Ohio roots, being able to connect, being familiar, having that respect for one another, because I think that respect is genuine. And I think that's good for Auburn. So you got to seize the opportunity here in the next 3 years. You got to do better than what we've got, and that shouldn't be hard.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. And I know some people, right, have the mentality of, well, if you're going to go and hire new coaches, have a clean, fresh start. But I do think for Golesh, right, it makes your job a little bit easier, right, because you're not having to go out and interview and find your own defensive coordinator. You kind of have one there that apparently they get along well. Like, it just kind of makes the process easier. You also think probably helped in recruiting, as you mentioned, probably will help with roster retention when portal time comes, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you're an Auburn fan and you were presented with the situation of would you like John Summerall by himself or Alex Golesh and DJ Durkin, I think a lot of Auburn fans would be happy with Alex Golesh and DJ Durkin as that pair.
And Kalen DeBoer has done this. We've seen this. Not that they haven't gone to the portal, but they haven't been portal heavy. They're very strategic in who they identify. Obviously, guys with talent, but certain fits, right? And guys that they think will fit. And there's a good chance most all of them are not going to be there for the entire.
They're not going to graduate from the university now.
But you want to identify those guys that you think have a good chance of staying with your program, developing them, whether it's character-wise. Well, a lot of it, I think, does have to do with character and kind of the mental makeup of the player. But you're going to have to use the portal. I think Alex Golesh is very similar in that, too, and identifying not kind of the Brian Harsin, hey, let's get 2 stars and bring them in and we'll just out X and O them. But there's certain guys that he knows fit what he wants to do on the offensive side of the ball.
I was about to say, there's a lot of guys that you might look at and go, well, they only have, like you said, 3 stars.
Early indications he really likes really tall, athletic wide receivers.
Yeah, it's a good thing to go.
Is that a shocker?
Keep Cam Coleman. He would be one of the best at that. But
would that mean that Ryan Williams is off the board, out of the portal?
I think with his asking price, there would maybe be a lot of teams that had second thoughts of that right now. But no, I think that's a great point that you brought up is with both Alabama and Auburn, right, is you're seeing them identifying guys that are a fit for what they want to do. And especially at a place like Alabama, right, we were just so used to Nick Saban and kind of the kind of players that they went after. And some of that still holds true. But when you go and look at some of these guys that maybe fly under the radar, like, I think he was a 4-star guy last year. Latsier Brooks wasn't a headliner in your recruiting class last year. Made a pretty big impact this year, right? Like, you've got guys like that you can identify, and if they're a fit for your system, yeah, maybe they don't have the most stars, but there's a lot of great examples of guys that had 1 or 2 stars next to their name out of high school, and they've gone on to be some of the greatest players of all time. So, again, I think there's a lot of reason for optimism if you're Auburn and the direction that they're going to head, and we'll see what the roster looks like in a few months, but I think the portal is going to do good things for Auburn.
Alex Golesh introduced at the Auburn basketball game, addressing the crowd there at Neville Arena last night. He fired them up, said all the right things. It wasn't awkward in any way, like we've seen with some of those from other coaches at other schools.
It was, yeah.
We just put together a montage of those awkward moments.
Yeah, it was. No, you're right. It was good though. They seem to have embraced him, and he seems to have embraced Auburn very quickly. So it's hard to believe. It's just how quickly things move. It's hard to believe that he's only been the Auburn coach for 4 days. It just feels like it's been longer than that already. And because I feel like the transition has been pretty smooth. At least from the outside looking in, it seems to go smoothly. And that's what you want, right? Is that perception.
Is Auburn like the friend that you just want to find somebody for them? And you're just hoping that this next one could be the one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hopefully Alex Golesh is the one.
It feels like a good fit.
Absolutely. And I think Auburn there are certain programs, and you could say this at the professional level, college sports, whatever, but there are certain teams and programs where the sport as a whole, in my opinion, is better when certain teams are competitive. And I think Auburn is absolutely one of those schools. There's no doubt in my mind that college football is better when Auburn is competitive in the SEC. And so hopefully that's what we get in the immediate future for Alex Golesh.
Speaking of Auburn, we'll talk to Rob Pate at 11:45. Got a lot of your texts coming in. Some of you are not too stoked about Conrad's weekend plans. We'll hear from you next on 3 Man Front. 11:31, three-man front on this Thursday. Great visit with Rodney Orr, a Tighter Insider, joining us in the 11 o'clock hour. You can find all of our interviews, segments of the show daily at jocksfm.com and the Three-Man Front Daily Podcast. Got Rob Pate talking Auburn at 11:45. Brett Norsworthy, he's going to have his I Ain't Scared bold prediction for the college football weekend. Brett has been on fire with those. Also, his reaction as a part of the Ole Miss Radio Network to one Lane Kiffin and the aftermath and what he left there in Oxford.
Yeah, the last time we heard from Brett, he seemed to be at peace with whatever happened with Lane, right? We heard him on the show last week. He said, I'm never going to say anything that goes against Lane Kiffin or anything. It puts him in a bad light because he's appreciative of what he's done for the Ole Miss program despite the way that this has all gone down. So it'll be interesting to get his take on that today, and maybe he'll give an update for us on Juice. Hopefully he's doing well.
Yes, Penn State is still looking for a head football coach. Smoke out there about potentially Billy Napier, not to Penn State, but potentially to James Madison. Bob Chesney taking the job out west. That will be interesting to see if Billy can land. And another coach we're going to talk about in the next hour, who was once at an SEC school.
Multiple.
He is now going on his I want to get back in it. We were so close campaign. Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, we'll get into that in the 12 o'clock hour, I guess. But if he had his first, I guess, public interview since being fired by Auburn, and I appreciated him saying he wanted to do things the right way, Landrum, because he said he wanted to wait until after the season was over and Auburn had a new head coach before he decided to continue to throw players under the bus, which is what he did yesterday again.
Hear me out.
Man. It's you.
Hear me out. I don't want this to be a pylon Jackson Arnold or pylon players. But let's go back to this game. How many drops? How many missed guys? How many? Coach, you just did it. You said you didn't want to do it, but you just did it.
Who wanted to bring Jackson Arnold into the mix and make him the quarterback? Beats me. Seems like it might have been Hugh.
We were so close on our evaluations and how he would fit. Text line is open, 205-834-9450. I've started using "we are so close" with everything.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yep.
It's fantastic. And if you know, you know.
You know.
So close.
Don chiming in first. Hello, everyone. His ears were burning.
Absolutely.
On Durkin and Williams staying on the old staff, are they the only ones staying? I've heard TJ Rushing could possibly stay on. Marcus Davis stay on an off-the-field coaching aid. I don't know about the other staff hires. I know that getting Vontrell King Williams to come back as your defensive line coach, his relationship with those guys, vital.
I was about to say, Vontrell King Williams was the big one. So this was reported by CBS in terms of the Auburn staff and some guys that will be coming with Alex Golish. It's expected that he's going to bring his offensive coordinator, Joel Gordon, offensive line coach, Tyler Hudenick, cornerbacks coach DeMarcus Van Dyke, and strength and conditioning coach Jord Corrides. Sorry, I don't know how
he
to
looks
pronounce
Greek.
That. He does. But that is just to kind of give you an idea of maybe some of the pieces. And then we know Cody Burns, who is the co-OC, associate head coach, all that good stuff. And obviously a former Auburn Tiger himself.
Not that I've ever seen a strength coach that looked like that they should be leading a prayer group.
Mm-hmm.
They all look like they're pretty intense.
Absolutely.
That guy looks intense.
He looks like Dan Bilzerian, but like a good person.
And he might lead a prayer group. I'm just saying by the pictures I've seen, this guy looks like you better go in, you better be ready to work.
Well, it's something about having the bald head but the really strong beard.
Yeah.
It makes
and you can tell there's that carved out jawline underneath it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna do what he says.
He's a no nonsense guy.
That's what you want. That is what you want.
More texts that we will get into. Alan asks, I haven't heard about Auburn recruiting, but did they get length and girth? Length is announcing on Friday.
Thank you. Good to hear from you. Been a while.
And girth has a signing ceremony today. That was good. Thank you, Alan.
I had honestly forgotten about that quote from Hugh Freeze, so thank you, Alan. Yeah.
Conrad has revealed his plans for the weekend.
I will be in Atlanta at the SEC title game. Sorry, everybody. or the Alabama fans. The Auburn fans are happy I'm there, and the Georgia fans.
This one reads, Conrad is going to be in Atlanta? Question mark 3 times. My word, we are screwed. He said something else. Not liking it. So you will get blamed if Alabama loses.
I will get blamed every time they lose, and I never get any of the credit when they win, even though I definitely will have pads on. I will be one of the 11 on the field. Look for me.
Where are y'all sitting?
In the press box.
Are you?
I will be.
What about your wife?
So my mom, my stepdad, and my wife are all going. They got tickets. I am going. I will be in the press box. So they'll be enjoying it from the stands. I'll be in the press box.
Do you know what you're going to wear yet?
I'll probably wear khakis and my lovely 3-man front quarter zip courtesy of 18 South.
Not a guy.
And closed-toed shoes because it'll be cold.
Yes. Dylan asks, did Alabama sign a good kicker?
They did not. I went and looked at their class. They did not sign a kicker. Connor Talty, ride or die, baby.
And Jonathan says he's surprised Bama did not pick up a kicker in the class. They've got to get a kicker out of the portal if available. Oh, there's always a kicker available. How much do you want to pay for a kicker?
Who is Miami, Ohio's kicker?
No, it's a guy, you can't pronounce his name. He's really good, though. It's not Graham Nicholson because he left at Miami of Ohio, went to Alabama. This guy, I looked him up earlier. He's got like I don't want to guess. It's a different name. I was going to go nationality, but I probably shouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Dom.
Huh?
Dom.
Dom?
Dom Diazabin? That would be my guess. He's a redshirt senior. I'm just saying, there seems to be a pipeline there for specialists from Miami, Ohio to Alabama.
Money talks.
Yeah,
some of these guys, you can't get on bargain deals anymore.
No, well, I mean, we heard with, from what I understand with Graham Nicholson, he wasn't cheap. That wasn't a, hey, buddy, you want to come play at Alabama? We'll give you, some spending money. No, they spent hundreds of thousands on him, from what I understand.
Back to the story about my friends who are Alabama grads.
The fake caterers that snuck into the game? Yeah.
So he's listening to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening. He's sending me pictures, and I'll show them to you. He said it was the SEC championship game where Bama made Tebow cry.
Okay, so 2009. Okay.
But I will give you
Is this the picture
phone,
of the
and you can give your reaction. Do not say his name.
That's so good. I mean, I wouldn't question it. If I'm one of the security people, I would just go, okay. I mean,
and the line of work they're in, they knew how to play the role. They sold it.
If I see anybody dressed up like in somewhat of a chef outfit, carrying a platter of food, I'm not asking anything. Yeah, come on in. Let me hold the door for you.
6th grade science teacher, huge Alabama fan, huge. Went to every game. I know on a couple of Iron Bowls that were Jordan Hare. He wore an Alabama jacket, walked in with the band. Nobody said a word. Now, that was
Yeah, you can't do those things anymore.
Pre-security stuff.
Yeah, I can't do those anymore.
There was a couple of SEC stadiums. You literally could bring your own bar, and they wouldn't have said anything back in the day. Maybe one or two still.
Yeah.
Security's.
You got to be a little more creative with it now, but, there's a will, there's a way. I promise you.
Robert Wood says Lane did the right thing the wrong way.
I don't disagree with that.
Cigar Cowboy asks, what if Miami gets in and the ACC title winner doesn't?
Well, and that's kind of part of the whole theory of Miami getting in is that maybe the committee that would be the final push for them is, well, the ACC champion, we can't put them in. So, yeah, we'll do the Miami over Notre Dame thing. It's possible. I think Miami gets in over Notre Dame. That's my prediction right now.
We're reminded that Bama's kicker was the second-ranked kicker in the nation out of his class.
Well, that was always the thing with Papa Nasty and all those guys. Like all the kickers that you remember at Alabama under Nick Saban that were bad, they were all top-rated kickers. It just didn't work out. There's only, so many Will Reicherts out there.
Collins from Pell City. I'm going to have to do the comparison on the facial. Golish looks like the youngest O'Doyle from Billy Madison as an adult.
Okay. I think I know what he's going for there. That's an interesting comparison.
I'm just trying to find the picture here.
If I'm thinking of the right character, I could see it just a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
Like that's Alex Golish grown up is the
Yeah.
O'Doyle kid. Yeah, with the beard. I can see it. O'Doyle rules.
O'Doyle rules. Speaking of Auburn, Alex Golish, Rob Pate, former Auburn DB. We'll get his thoughts on the hire, what he's hearing, and moving forward. We'll also get his thoughts on the SEC championship game. Does he agree with Conrad?
Who knows? Fingers crossed, right?
Let's hope so. Rob Pate is next. $11:46, three-man front on this Thursday. Rob Pate, former Auburn defensive back, Entrepreneur of the Year, Man of the Year. Hopefully soon to be honored at a Homewood High School game because his high school does not exist anymore. Former Irwin Eagle standout. Rob Pate joining us. He's also a doctor. Did I mention that? And on the Higginbotham hotline. Dr. Pate, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm good, man. I would love that Homewood honoring, man. That would be. I would love to see that. I think I saw them take a picture this year of the team that won the state championship in 1995.
It was 95. Yep. Yep.
Yep, that was a good group of guys, man. That was a great team.
That was a great
They
team.
did lose to Irwin that year, though.
Golly. What were we beating you guys 21-0 at the half, and you came back and single-handedly beat us in the second half? That's what happened.
Well, no, it definitely wasn't single-handedly. We had a lot of guys.
He's so humble
in that game, but
so modest.
no, that was a highlight of my high school experience, and Cole acts like it was just a nothing game for you guys. So.
Well, I think Cole was hurt at the time. To be fair,
he was waving his white towel on the sideline.
No, I can remember walking off the sideline like what just happened? What did this really just happen? We were in cruise control, and all of a sudden this Pate kid starts doing everything.
Well, we did the same thing the next week that we did every year. All 4 years I played in high school, we played Homewood, and then the next week we played Mountain Brook, and Mountain Brook was terrible the first couple of years, and they beat us every year. We'd go in and beat Mountain or Homewood, and then just absolutely get trounced by Mountain Brook. So I don't know, man. Those over the mountain teams, they were just too tough for us Irwin boys.
You got the area title ring. We got the state championship ring. So.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Rob, there's lots to catch up on. Alex Golish being named, but first let's go back before that because there's been all kinds of conjecture and smoke out there. And at this point, it really doesn't matter how we got to the point, but I do want to hear it from your perspective being down there in Auburn. What happened leading up to Alex Golish's hiring? How much was DJ Durkin led to believe that he could have been the coach after that game? What did you hear, and is too much being made out of all of this with John Cohen?
Honestly, I think John Cohen did a phenomenal job, just by virtue of the fact that nobody heard anything. And, he can spin the story however he wants to spin it because nobody really has a great idea other than I'm in the boat that I think that everyone had the assumption that John Summerall was going to be the guy until John Summerall decided he didn't want to be the guy, or there was something amiss with what he was hearing, or he just preferred the Florida job. I don't know exactly what happened with that, but that's the beauty of not having all the leaks and all the innuendo out there because he was so tight-lipped and did a really good job of holding that. And honestly, I think it played out about as well as it could have for Auburn to go get a guy that I think that the best thing about Alex Golish is quarterback development and the fact that that those days should be over in the rearview mirror of not being able to compete week in and week out in this conference with quarterback play, the position that you have to be the best at if you want to have any chance to continue playing meaningful games in November and beyond. And he's proven that. He's proven it where he's at. He's proven it in this league recently at Tennessee. And, his offenses have been great. For all the things that Hugh Freeze was able to do from a roster standpoint in Auburn, I mean, you have to admit that he did a great job of bringing talent and flipping that roster quickly, but could not get the quarterback position right and could not get the offense over the hump because of it. And I think that that's probably the singular best thing that you get in this coach. And I know there's other things, work ethic. I think his story is phenomenal. Being young, wanting to be here, I think is a massive thing, and wanting to prove yourself, I think, is a massive thing. But then adding the second biggest element in keeping DJ Durkin and the continuity defensively, I think, is huge. So I'm really happy with how it ended, regardless of how we got there.
So with keeping those guys, keeping DJ Durkin and making the hire of Alex Golish, Rob, what do you expect in terms of roster retention? Because I would think that being able to keep a guy like DJ Durkin, you obviously have a lot of talented players on the roster. You just mentioned that was the best thing that Hugh Freeze did at Auburn. Do you think that's in a really good spot right now as we're about to get into portal season? I know there's going to be a lot of questions about what the roster will look like for Auburn next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Conrad, it's probably you're in as good of a position as you can be. I mean, that's not to say there's not going to be guys that throw their name out there and see if what becomes of it. That's going to happen everywhere. I mean, and guys that you don't anticipate it'll happen with, and guys that you thought maybe that they would enter, that decide to stay. But at least these guys know what the standard is, and they know kind of their role and pecking order in a DJ Durkin defense. I would expect more offensive guys to have question marks. But man, I mean, if you're sitting there and you're in the Auburn offensive rooms, you would have to be telling yourself, how could it get worse than what we just did? And look at the track record of the guy coming in. So I think they've got great selling points from that standpoint. But with what some people, I mean, if you're out there and you're surveying the Auburn defensive landscape or offensive landscape, and you think you've got a guy that can get you over the hump, then they'll be made an offer, and those guys will have to make an individual decision, and that happens on every roster in America. And so you just can't name it. You don't know.
Roster retention was such a focus for John Cohen and keeping a lot of these guys that, let's be fair, Hugh Freeze helped to recruit, but you got talent on that roster. There's other pieces that you're bringing in. Other pieces, as you just mentioned, could be departing. Tougher schedule as it looks on paper right now for Auburn next season. What should the expectation be for Alex Golesh?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, wins and losses are how you're going to be judged, and that's the ultimate, decision of whether or not this is working in your favor or not. But I know the schedule is rough next year. I don't remember exactly what it is, but I know anytime you're on the road in these years where you play in Tuscaloosa and you play in Athens, that's a huge uphill climb. But I think LSU or somebody else rotates back onto the schedule. Florida, some of these other teams that we avoided this year that are going to make it difficult. I think that people are initially going to be looking at quarterback play and offensive production. I think that the standard has been set for what you can expect to see in a defense, and so I don't think people are going to expect to go backwards there. So I don't really think that it's a high hill to climb from an offensive standpoint because of how low the bar was set in the last year or two. But we'll see. It's a different dynamic for these coaches to step into initially, just with the talent level and what these defenses do. And I think you've heard Alex Golesh say that a lot, that it's a different animal in this league with what you see on Saturdays from a defensive schematic standpoint. I think they have to get used to a different caliber athlete, both in who they have on their roster and who they compete against week in and week out. And I think there's a learning curve there. But the good thing with him as compared to, we'll say, John Summerall, is that Golesh has done it recently on the side of the ball that he is his side, and it's been successful in this league. And it wasn't just successful, it was dominant in this league. And I think that gives Auburn people a lot of hope that we can turn things around offensively quickly.
All right, quickly, Rob, before we let you get out of here, your two favorite teams are playing in Atlanta on Saturday. Do you have a prediction? Who do you think wins the SEC? I
think Georgia will win it, and simply because of the way Alabama's played the last couple of weeks. I think Georgia, and it's hard to beat a team twice in the same year.
Yeah.
So I'll say Georgia, but I'm not going to be shocked either way.
All right, keep serving up the frozen yogurt and taking care of eyes. I almost had to call you an emergency the other day.
I was about to say, yeah, Landrum needed you.
No, I'm good. Dr. Vanoy, she's good.
Dr. Vanoy can handle it all.
She can. She thinks highly of you.
All right, guys.
So
y'all take care, man.
Rob,
hey,
thank you, brother.
Well, we appreciate you.